Hi everybody, my name is Kim Koski and I did my assistive technology project on the C Pen reader. It's basically a scanner that's about the size of this pen, maybe a little wider, and it gives the student the ability to scan over text and then it will read it out loud to them. The reason I chose this was because I actually had a student last year who used a C Pen similar to the one that I'll show you in a little while for the entire year that I had him last year. So I felt like I really had a good idea of the great parts of it, the more challenging parts of it, and how it can really help students achieve their goals while they're in school. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So basically the C Pen is basically just a pen that is a scanner. It does have some pretty cool features, but it really depends on the type of pen that you get because there are a couple different companies out there that create these pens, and some of them are slightly different than others. But some of the things that most of them have is the text-to-speech option, the ability to store things that you've scanned on the hard drive so you can go back and look at it later so you don't have to rescan something every time you want to see it if it's the same text over and over. And they all come with headphone jacks so that the student can plug in their headphones, and that way if they're scanning over something in class, it's a quieter activity where they don't have to draw attention to themselves. And I know that that was a huge plus for my student last year. He was a student who had cerebral palsy, along with other, disorders and things like that kind of tacked on to it. So, he was in an inclusion class, so he would become very self-conscious about having to use the C Pen during class because he felt like everyone was just kind of staring at him. So his headphones were really a great addition to this technology, because then he was able to plug his headphones in, put them in, and then go ahead and read without really much disruption. Another reason why I think the C Pen is actually a really great technology for schools is that it can help a wide range of students with different classifications. It can help students who are struggling with dyslexia. It can help English language learners, especially with like vocabulary in that instance. Really any other like processing deficits or reading deficits, or if the child is having a problem with like word attack specifically, things like that. And then the visually impaired students who, you have a textbook for the class and the textbook only comes with, the really small font, but they can't see that. So another option for them would be to use this pen to scan things and listen to it instead. And that was a huge reason why we used it last year with the student that I had. So since I don't have a pen to show you guys how it works because they are expensive, and my school will purchase them for a student if they need it and their parents can't afford it, but they're not going to purchase one for me just to use. So I found a video that kind of just briefly explains how it works so you can actually see what it does. And then we'll come back to the presentation. So let me show you that video quick. All right, guys, so here's the video, and I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it is a little long, but I'll just show you the technology itself and what the pen actually looks like, and things like that, and then we'll go back to the presentation and talk about some other things. So that's what the scanning pen looks like. So that's how you scan over it. You would hold it over the textbook and then it would read it back to you. And the video will go on to explain that you can store a text in the pen if you would like. It can't be, an entire novel's worth of text, but a couple pages is fine. And we'll talk about the amount of text that you can save when I get to my pros and cons in a little while. So let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so now that you guys have kind of seen what it looks like, I'm going to kind of go through and explain some of the things that are really great about the pen and some of the things that aren't really great about the pen. And I'm going to give you this information based on the experience that I had last year. And I found a study that was done with 3 students who were classified with the same classification, and a couple doctors studied the use of the pen with those students, and we'll talk about that. And then I also found a couple like parent and teacher blogs that have to do with like instructional materials and, you know, this is how you can help your child if they're struggling with X, Y, and Z and things like that. And a couple parents and teachers gave their input on the things that they were seeing with this pen, and I thought that was a really cool thing. So I'm going to include some of that information as well. So first and foremost, the things that support this pen, because there are a lot of great things about this pen. It gives a child a sense of independence. And again, we see that with the student that I worked with last year, where he was afraid that people would make fun of him or he would feel out of place when his one-on-one aide would have to read everything out loud to him, or, you know, help him read questions and understand what it's asking and go through vocabulary and things like that with him. So this pen really provided him with the confidence and the independence to be able to do it himself. And again, this can really help with vocabulary improvement. So if a student is struggling to comprehend reading just because they're getting caught on certain words, then this really helps them because they can scan just that word and then hit the dictionary option on the pen, and the pen will tell them what the word means so they can better understand, and that way their reading comprehension improves overall over time. And like I said before, it can help multiple different types of classifications and disabilities, which I think is great because some technology is super important for just one type of learner, which is great, but it also limits who can use it. Some other things that I found that was interesting is that in an article I found on a parent blog about dyslexia, this article here, a parent actually mentions, which isn't mentioned in a lot of the product videos, so I believe this is for one specific type of pen. So a parent really has to do their research before they purchase a pen for their child, because it is a lot of money, and if you're going to spend that money, you want to make sure you're getting what you want. But for this particular pen, which they call the OCR pen instead of just the C pen, the parent said that as the user scans the text, it is typed. So if a child is having trouble or they're more physically impaired where typing on a keyboard takes forever and they're just hitting one key at a time, they can actually scan this text, and it has a USB that plugs into the same jack as the headphones, and you can put that into the child's computer and it will type it on a page for them as it's scanning the text, which I thought was a really great feature. Like I said, not all pens have it, but some of the newer pens do. So it's, again, just something that you really kind of have to do your research on. So now I'm going to talk about some of the things that are challenging about the pen, and I have mentioned some of them already. But I found this quote, actually, which is a really cool quote, I thought. The C pen is empowering as it provides a tool for total independence, as long as the user can physically hold the pen and move it across the surface. And it has to be at that specific angle. So while, yes, it can empower a student to have confidence in their reading abilities, it can also be frustrating for them if they don't have a steady hand to drag that pen across the text. So that is one of the challenges. Fortunately, the student that I had last year, even though he did have cerebral palsy and he was physically disabled in some ways, he was actually very good about practicing using the C pen in a slow and direct manner on the text. So that was a great thing for him. Another confidence booster, actually. that he got to experience. So that was exciting. Another thing that isn't really great about this text is it does require a steady hand. And the price, it's expensive. Like when I looked at them on Amazon, at least $250. And that was for some of the older versions of the pen. The newest versions are more. And if you're having the child look at something, a worksheet or something that has a different font style than just like Times New Roman or Arial or things like that, or if it's a big text, like the text itself is like 20 in size, the pen struggles with that. So those are all just things to keep considering. But really, why am I telling you this? I saw the C Pen work in a very positive manner for my student last year. And I know that from seeing him in 8th grade this year and hearing things from his teachers, like, it's still helping him. He uses it in class. It really boosts his confidence in the ability to participate in his inclusion classes that he's trying out. So while there are challenges with this pen, and it's not for everybody because there are other technologies that are easier, like the Google Chrome extensions for certain text-to-speech and speech-to-text type things, for the everyday classroom work, this pen really helps. I think it's a great thing for schools to have, and I'm very lucky that my school does, in fact, give grants to parents who can't afford the pen for their students. So thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope this helps. If any of you have ever had an experience with a C Pen in your classroom, I would love to hear it. And have a great night. Here are my sources if you ever want to see them. And if I can find a way to do it, I'll post my presentation for you as well. Thanks.